Could Scott Peterson be exonerated? One of the most hated men in America? A free man? I didn't see this one coming. 20 years after being convicted of killing his pregnant wife Laci, Scott Peterson's case is being taken up by the Innocence Project, following the revelation of new evidence. Evidence that they believe could prove that Scott Peterson is innocent. Of all the cases taken on by the Innocence Project, so far about 43% of clients were proven innocent. 42% were confirmed guilty. Now, for a refresher, Scott was arrested and charged with first-degree murder in the death of his wife Laci and second-degree murder in the death of their unborn son. It was one of the biggest, most publicized trials ever. Laci Peterson, who was 27 years old, was 8 months pregnant with their son Connor when she vanished on Christmas Eve in 2002. She and Scott had been married for 5 years. Scott later told police that he last saw his wife around 9:30 a.m. at their home in Modesto, California. He was leaving to go fishing at the Berkeley Marina, the last time he saw his wife. He said that Laci was watching a Martha Stewart show about meringue, preparing to do some cleaning, bake cookies, and walk the family dog to a nearby park. Scott said he got back to the house later to find Laci's car in the driveway. Their dog was there, but Laci was nowhere to be found. Scott and Laci's stepfather both reported her missing shortly before 6 p.m. that evening. While Scott initially helped to look for her, detectives said they were thrown off by his calm and cool demeanor. Detective John Bueller, one of the lead investigators on the case, described Scott's behavior as a strange combination of polite and arrogant. He said Scott just didn't seem like a man who was crushed or even greatly disturbed by his wife's disappearance and possible death. Many said that Scott seemed emotionless, and some even started to call him a sociopath. And in January 2003, here came the mistress, and all the scandalous details. A woman named Amber Fry told investigators that she was in a relationship with Scott and the two had been having an affair. And hands down, one of the creepiest things she said was that Scott told her that he was a widower, and this Christmas would be the first without his wife. This made police even more suspicious of Scott, and he became the primary suspect. 4 months later, there was a gruesome discovery. Laci's body was found in the San Francisco Bay, just a few miles away from where Scott said he went fishing that day. Hours after authorities identified their bodies, police arrested Scott Peterson. Investigators say they intercepted him near the Mexico border. He had dyed his hair, had thousands of dollars in cash, his brother's ID, and multiple cell phones. And overnight, Scott Peterson became a pariah. He was the most hated man in America. The public thought of him as a cold-blooded killer, and his trial lasted 9 long months. Investigators said Scott Peterson took the bodies from their Modesto home and dumped them into the San Francisco Bay when he went to the Berkeley Marina. It took the jury 9 hours to reach a verdict. Guilty on 2 counts of capital murder for Laci and Connor. Scott was convicted in 2004 and sentenced to death. He was later sentenced to life in prison without parole. But there are some people out there who believe that Scott Peterson is innocent. Much of this stems from the neighborhood witnesses, saying they saw Laci walking their dog that morning. One witness claimed that she even saw 2 men yelling at a pregnant woman walking a dog that morning as well. Those who believe Scott is innocent theorize that Laci Peterson ran into foul play while on her walk that morning, long after Scott had left to go fishing. The LA Innocence Project claims that Scott Peterson's state and federal constitutional rights were violated, and that new evidence now supports Scott Peterson's long-standing claim of innocence. Paula Mitchell, the director of the LA Innocence Project, said she found deficiencies while reviewing the discovery of Scott Peterson's case. One of the motions filed Wednesday asked the court for an order directing the testing of evidence from the original trial for DNA. Items mentioned in the court document include cloth from a mattress booked into evidence by police that was recovered from an orange van that was set on fire in Modesto on the morning of December 25, 2002. The motion also requests testing on other items found in the van, including a shopping bag and its contents, also duct tape found near where Laci Peterson's remains were discovered. In addition, items recovered at a home near the Petersons' residence that had been burglarized around Christmas. The fact that they're taking on Scott's case speaks volumes. They clearly believe there's something there worth reviewing. Many believe that this is appalling, and wholeheartedly believe that Scott Peterson is guilty. In 2020, the California Supreme Court overturned Scott Peterson's death sentence, and before he was resentenced in 2021 to life without parole, Laci Peterson's mother, sister, and brother addressed the court. Laci's mother, Sharon, said to Scott, "I've seen no sorrow or no remorse from you at all. I know you're going to say you have no remorse because you're innocent, but you haven't shown any grief or sorrow for either of them. I still feel the grief every day after 19 years. No matter what happens, no matter what transpires in the future, there are two things that will never change. Laci and Connor will always be dead, and you will always be their murderer." In December 2022, Scott Peterson was denied a new murder trial, and he has always maintained his innocence and claims he received an unfair trial based on possible jury misconduct. Scott's attorneys have previously claimed that a woman, known as Juror 7, lied about her history of abuse to be admitted to the panel that eventually sent him to death row. But the judge who heard the request for a new trial said there was no evidence to support this claim. Mike Belmesseri, who served as a juror on Scott Peterson's trial, said there isn't a day that goes by where he hasn't thought about the case. Furthermore, he supports a review of this case, saying, "If they're gonna find something different that sheds light on something new, I fully support it." But I gotta know, what are your thoughts on all this? Do you believe justice was served in this case? Or do you believe that Scott is innocent? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks so much for joining me today. Make sure you subscribe, give this video a like, and turn on post notifications so you never ever miss out on a video. And to hold you over until next episode, check out these videos. You could pick that one or that one. I know you'll really enjoy.